I'm going to be reviewing an example of a poor e-lesson in accordance to the Coherence Principle. So this is our title slide, and we have what looks like two images, one on top of another, posed with a question. The image in the back can be very distracting, or at least it is to me. However, I don't think that either one of the images are needed. We could simply ask, are you familiar with the Simpsons show? And this is a theme that's used throughout the entire presentation. The Simpsons are the key image. So we move on to the next slide. We're asked a question about the cartoon. However, this presentation is supposed to be about the writing process, and yet we're into the second slide and nothing has been introduced about the writing process as of yet. We have some erroneous text here that is irrelevant to the topic at hand, and then of course we have this image again of the Simpsons. Here we have another question posed, and then we get several responses. Again, erroneous text. We don't even see all of the text for this one right here, but then we've got several other statements as well that are irrelevant to the question at hand. And third slide in, and we still have not gotten any introduction of the writing process. This slide is very busy. We've got text in red and it's centered, and then we have some smaller text here, and then finally we get to the topic, the writing process. This slide was a bit confusing for me. It just had too much going on, and to me it was irrelevant to the topic at hand, and it was not necessary. Here again we see more images, erroneous images, and we have the steps of the writing process, and it's explained somewhat, saying that it involves these 5 steps. The steps are not in order, so it makes it difficult to know what comes first, and the images don't relate to the text at all. If I look here at Homer's picture, it looks like revising is a very daunting task. Moving on to the next slide. So here we have yet again another erroneous image of Bart in a diaper. Introducing step 1, which is pre-writing. It is centered, it's in red, the color needs to be changed, and it needs to be off-centered. And we see what the stages are. Now, again, we have red text, and while I understand that these letters are underlined to point out how they fit into the acronym RAFs, you should not underline text unless it's hyperlinked. So another way to handle this would just be to make the letters bigger and bolder, but not have them underlined. We move on to step 2, drafting. This one is a little bit more cleaned up, easier to read, but again we have an erroneous image that is totally unrelated to the topic, and looking at this picture makes it seem that drafting is a scary thing. We have step 3. Again, we've got yet another image, but we have it cleaned up, so everything is bulleted. We've got some capital letters and some explanation, and it contains an opinion which is irrelevant to the topic at hand. This slide just simply needs to stick to the facts. Again, we have our erroneous image. We're introduced to step 4, which is editing. This is presented in an easy to read fashion. Step 5 is publishing. Again, we have some opinions listed here, and then we have 3 additional images on the slide, and this particular image of Maggie even covers up the wording here. None of the images are related to the topic at hand and take away from the slide itself. We have Bart, an image of Bart, and one last thought. And while the encouragement is a nice thing, it is unnecessary for the lesson. And our very last slide is nothing but images, totally unrelated to the topic at hand. While I understand using the Simpsons might be a way to garner students' attention because it is a popular show, the use of the images throughout the entire presentation was very distracting and at times could be very misleading to the steps that were being presented.